Hi guys, Pete here, N6QW, and I wanted to share some of my views on the current state of amateur radio here in the United States. Sad, that's the way to describe it. Sad. I've been licensed for 67 years. First licensed in 1959 is KN3IXU and K3IXU. I had a novice and a technician class license, which you were able to have both licensed simultaneously. And I went from there to a general, then an advanced, and an extra. And I've been an extra for 50 years now. Sad state of affairs. We have people that study a bunch of questions, take a test, and in a matter of 2 hours went from no knowledge, no license to an amateur extra. When I got an extra, I had to do a lot more, had to learn a lot more, had to do a lot more in order to qualify for that license. And that reflects the state of the hobby. It once was technically based, because you had to build all your gear and understand how all the stuff operated. It was not something you could just readily buy somewhere. You had to make it with your hands. Now, all you need is a credit card, one that's not, one that's not exceeded its limit, and the sky's the limit. And you get on the air, and you have people that, quite honestly, admit I'm an extra and I know nothing, and they don't. And you shouldn't be an extra without knowing something. And our hobby's seen a dramatic change since the late 50s all the way to today, where we went from mostly CW transmitters to sideband, SDR, satellite radio, what have you. We live in the greatest time ever with regard to the technology that's available to us. For a few dollars, you can buy some gear, and with a design you made yourself and simulated, you can build a really first-rate transceiver. I have a homebrew SDR transceiver that I designed parts of it and I built it myself, and it works just as good as something you can buy commercially. But most hams can't do that. 1%, 1% of the hams worldwide build anything. Most people just operate contests and just basically operate POTA and SOTA, IOTA, BIOTA, whatever have you. And soon they tire of that, and there's nothing to drive them forward. And it's kind of interesting as many of the things that we see in the commercial world first started in somebody's ham shack, like SDR radios. Think of Flex and what they did and how they've changed the face of amateur radio. But it's a problem. And part of the problem is, I think, is the ARRL. There was a time when QST every month was chock full of construction articles and helpful information. Now it's chock full of advertisements for multi-thousand-dollar equipment from the Far East. That's all it is. No more is the technical basis. The handbook. Every year when the handbook came up, everybody liked to get their hands on it. Matter of fact, in the handbooks in the 50s and part of the 60s, in the back section was vacuum tubes. They had the specs for vacuum tubes. So you needed a tube manual. And once you had a handbook, you had everything you needed there to build something. But now we've moved forward, and I think what's also significant, out of the 750,000 or so licensed amateurs in the United States, 50% have HF privileges. The other 50% do not. So we've created a class of guys that all they do is run around with their Baofeng UV35Rs that they bought for $25 on Amazon, and that's the face of amateur radio today. So I think it's a sad state, because when all you do is operating in contests and there's nothing to spur you on from a technology standpoint, no desire to build and experiment and operate, all you have is a group of people that soon tire of the contests and the operating. And that's another thing. The operating, it's all clicks now, or people that have extreme political opinions to get on the air and just use the amateur radio as a forum to espouse their views on a particular political party. And that's sad. That's very sad. Or the closed nets that don't want to allow you in there to get a signal report or just chat or share your information or knowledge. Sad state of affairs, and we got to blame the ARRL. It's changed its focus. It's no longer what it was here in the 1950s. And today, They got this thing here, clean rigs. Well, they're going to classify all the rigs as not being clean, which means you got to buy a more expensive rig. So pretty sad. And I would say that in the next 50 years, there's going to be a dramatic downturn in the number of amateurs because the median age of hams today is between 60 and 70 years old. When I started in this hobby in 1959, licensed in 59, and I got on the air within a 10-mile range of my home, I discovered 6 other hams that were the same age as me on the air. We don't see young people on the air anymore. First of the fact that there's no technical emphasis to the hobby. Nobody builds anything; they got to buy it. So by buying it, they suddenly are faced with these very expensive rigs that they have to spend thousands of dollars for. $2,000. That's a big number where I come from. And in today's economic environment, $2,000 is significant in terms of putting gas in your tank. So we've created a situation, and quite frankly, I just see a demise as less and less people enter the hobby, and you won't attract the young people because you created nothing for them to build and experiment and operate. All it is memorize these questions, get an extra, spend a lot of money, and you're on the air. So it's a sad state of affairs, and it happened all because people got a little greedy with this. So anyway, my views. I know there's many of you that do not share this view, but I lived through 67 years when this was an exciting hobby. My first station cost me $20, $20 with a converted Arc 5 receiver on 80 meters. I had one crystal, 3709, which was then the novice ham band, and a homebrew transmitter, 5 watt, a 6V6. TR switch was a knife switch, double throw knife switch. Built my own antenna, got on the air and made a lot of contacts and really enjoyed myself and had a great time. Now, you suggest someone get on the air with 5 watts, and they go, I can't talk to anybody with 5 watts. Well, you'd be surprised that with 100 milliwatts you can talk to people, but the problem is it requires skill, technical knowledge, and expertise that people are unwilling to invest the time. So I'll end with that. This is Pete, N6QW, and I think we're in a sad time, and things are not going to get better. They're only going to get worse, and blame the ARRL.